A key feature of the college is its diversity. Not just diversity in age, but diversity in educational background, social background, and particularly church tradition, spiritual background. We have students coming from charismatic, evangelical churches, we have students coming from Anglo-Catholic churches, we have students coming from liberal social outreach churches. We have students coming from many sort of rural Anglican churches. So the diversity is considerable. It runs the range of the Church of England. The interesting thing is that for many of our students, this diversity is new. Their experience of Christian faith or of the Christian church thus far has been within a particular tradition. This isn't true of all, but it's true of many. And so the first thing they discover when they come here, and that generates quite a bit of surprise, is just how different Anglicans can be.
There's quite a variety of types of students who are with us here at St Augustine's College, and different kinds of variety, and it's a bit of a warp and weft between, on the one hand, different types of students coming to us looking for a particular kind of training, on the one hand, and on the other hand, different types of qualifications that we can offer towards that. To start with the first, the main categories of students at St Augustine's are ordinands, so people who are mostly Anglican ordinands, people training to become ordained ministers in the Church of England, but sometimes also people from other denominations. Then we have people training for licensed lay ministry, also typically within the Church of England. And we have a whole variety of people who come to us to study independently, not because they have been selected by a church or another organisation, but because they simply come to us and they are keen to study theology, possibly later on towards a particular kind of ministry, but also out of interest and passion for theology. And some of those are indeed already, people who are already ordained, for example, or already licensed to ministers, but want to continue studying while already being in ministry. So there's a whole range of people with us.
When I first looked at St Augustine's, one of the great selling points for me was the diversity of churchmanship. I come from quite a Catholic background, and I was aware that I needed to expand that experience and have an understanding of other ways of worshipping God and being with God. Of course, the other aspect of diversity in any community is the backgrounds that the students come from, the different journeys that they walk in their day-to-day life before they come here to be a student body. One of the most wonderful things about St Augustine's is that breadth of background and social and cultural background too. I have learnt so much about other cultures, coming as I do from Surrey, where I'm probably a Surrey mum. I have learnt so much about what it might be like to live in an environment where some of your neighbours don't know where the next meal is coming from. Or culturally, where a family party might be 300 people all making a noise, where my family party, because I'm only a little family, is 4 people sitting around a dinner table. And learning those different types of family and types of people and types of political and social backgrounds is great. We've had some very, very interesting, not arguments, but discussions which have opened my eyes to see the breadth of life that I hadn't experienced before I came here as a student.
So being in the academic environment, specifically probably coming from a church background, I know from my experience, I didn't interact in a church environment with a lot of people that had very differing opinions to mine. And when you approach theology and start understanding or recognizing that a lot of our theologians might see things a little bit differently, even to each other, that gives you space to be able to express your opinion, but also space to hear the opinions of others and then start interacting about those opinions really well. How did we formulate our theological understanding on this, or how did we formulate our theological understanding on that particular issue? And so coming into a place like St Augustine's with a broad church in the classes and in the rooms, it's been really great to be able to talk about our experiences. It's been really great to learn from people with different experiences and why they might have those different experiences, which this college and this academic institution has created the space for, because there's people from lots of different church backgrounds in the same room.
St Augustine's is a melting pot of lots of different ideas and practices within Christian behaviour. And as a charismatic Christian, I've felt very welcomed, very comfortable, very stretched in what I think and do. I think there are lots of areas where everyone overlaps, and I've particularly enjoyed learning about what the sisters do in the Abbey, which is on the same site. I have enjoyed watching the other students learn about charismatic worship when they're not used to that, and I've also enjoyed the opportunities to learn different things that I didn't know about my practice and then take them back to what I do at home, in my home church and in my family. So generally speaking, the opportunities where we all get to learn from one another are one of the huge perks of St Augustine's. It's definitely not a college that is one way and not another. It's very broad in its approach to worship.
And I think that, again, we're in a time where people are considering issues around diversity and inclusion. And I think that they're really trying to look at that at St Augustine's. I think the mix of people, from different ethnic backgrounds, you have Black students, students right across the range. You have students from all experiences, really, socio-economically, academically. But the thing that I think really stands out for me as we related with each other at the retreats and in class was the willingness of people to listen, to learn and to share. And so certainly as I leave college to go on to the next phase, that again is something that will be coming with me. I've enjoyed working with all of the lecturers, the administrative staff and the student body. I think that we've gelled very well, and it's been very life enhancing, a word that I use often, but because it's true.
I think the diversity that you experience at St Augustine, certainly that I experienced, has been important during my curacy when I've been meeting with curates and ministers of other traditions on a regular basis, and we've been able to support each other without having those barriers of ignorance between us. And I know that as I continue in church life, I will always have to deal with people from the evangelical wing, people from the low church, people from the high church, and God is beyond any one boundary. God can't be described in box-like terms. We can't box him in, but God's church reflects the greatness of God. And so being used to working with people from all those backgrounds wasn't just personally important for me, but said something about what we need God's church to be and how we need to live as God's church in ministry, in curacy, and whatever comes to me next in my following of his call.
Of course, one of the great strengths of that breadth of diversity, of cultural and churchmanship, is that it offers us as trainee priests, as ordinands, the opportunity to learn about God's people. And they are the people that we will be going out to serve.
My background growing up in a Muslim country where in every class, in every bit we were taught that just trust your faith, believe in it, don't question it, you know. And it comes out more from the heart, you know, than whatever you do it from the heart, you know, because you're doing it for God and things like that. And when I joined here and I met other students, you know, and that critique part came in it, and I could see that I'm not using my mind, I'm using more of my heart, you know, that I'm believing in something where other students are, you know, questioning a point to clarify that particular point, you know, and I thought, yeah, I need to adapt to that. But sharing that experience and bring that passion out for where I'm coming from another angle and other students are thinking about it from a different perspective, you know, it just helped me out, and I'm sure it would have helped them out as well, you know, of knowing how my thinking is. And but it's basically my upbringing that has brought me to this, that I like to do things like especially for God, that from my heart. And but that's what I've learned from other students, you know, you need to think as well, you know, what you're reading, what you think, you need to question it as well.
We live in a world full of cancel culture, where if we disagree or don't quite see eye to eye with someone, they are immediately pushed to the side, unfriended, unfollowed, or whatever the social media term would be. Within St Augustine's, we recognize that we're all on a journey, and our end point might be different, but we're all traveling together. And so to be able to interact with people who you disagree with, you know that the end point isn't in that particular space or time, and that it is still moving forward and going forward. And one of the really important aspects, I feel, in terms of being able to dialogue with someone that you don't necessarily agree with is relationship. And that is a really vital part. And because as a college we meet together in the morning to worship together, we've got time to have coffee together, we've got time to sit down and have lunch together, and we build relationships. And to be able to dialogue well with anybody that we might not agree with or might not see eye to eye with even, relationship is vital. I don't think we can really easily change somebody's mind or hear somebody very well if we don't, on one level, get to know that person a little bit better, get to understand their experience a little bit better, and thereby trying to understand how they have come to the conclusion that they've come to at that particular time. And because of those, and it feels like a really small thing just to say that we have coffee together and we share, you know, we have breaks together, but that starts building that relationship, that starts building that understanding, so that we can dialogue well, so that we can disagree well together. That doesn't then break relationship or break the system. So I think places like theology colleges, like St Augustine's, is vital in terms of starting to build a world where we can interact without necessarily needing to disagree, but that not leading to everything being cancelled.